This is Christine Kidder, your marketing career coach, helping you have work that works for you. And this is my LinkedIn Live on Wednesdays that I'm so excited to have because I have two wonderful guests with me. I have Lauren Wingate and Lisa Guillot. And I've had the pleasure of working with them both. They're amazing coaches. And because this is Women's History Month too, I just thought this would be a wonderful LinkedIn Live to do. So we're going to have a great conversation today. The topic is woo-woo. How woo-woo can work for you, because it can. And labels, we have to question labels, because why are things labeled a certain way? And woo-woo is a label that is used quite often. And we're going to talk about that and just really, look at solutions to help you to be creative and open to things that you might have labeled as woo-woo before, or someone else might have labeled as woo-woo before, and that will really get you the results that you need. So to kick it off, I'd first like Lauren and Lisa, if you could both just introduce yourselves and just talk about, what you're excited about to talk about today regarding woo-woo.
Okay, I guess I start here. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Wingate. I'm an intuitive success mentor. And what does that mean? I help professional women break through areas where they're stuck in their business and in their personal lives. And my woo part of that is that I have the gift of vision. So I am able to tune into the subconscious mind and see the kind of dialogue that your subconscious mind is telling you. You might not even realize what it's telling you. And I bring that to the surface. And in the process of doing that, you see the truth around it, or my clients see the truth around that. And I also help them to release the blocks, the energy blocks, so they can raise their energy vibration and live a life with balance and clarity. So they have major breakthroughs. And I think I just want to add that a lot of people are trying to solve problems here. And we have our whole being, we can solve so many problems. I call it heart set. So we have mindset and we have heart set. And it's in our hearts where our truth is, where our intuition is. And it's such a valuable tool for all of us to be able to access and live a life as a whole being instead of just living our lives up here. So I love what I do. I love helping people have breakthroughs in their lives and living a really productive life. So woo definitely has its place, and to be able to use it really as an action step. It's not just, oh, okay, we're stopping at woo. Let's take the action steps. Once we've gone beyond what is stopping you. And on the other side of that wall of fear is freedom. So that's who I am, and that's what I do.
Ew, I love that. It reminds me of George Michael's song Freedom from like 1988. One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mine too.
George Michael. Love that. Love the heart set. Love the mindset differentiation there. Yeah. And the heart as a distinct tool.
Yes.
My name is Lisa Guillot, and I am a creative mindset coach and a personal branding expert. So I love working with people who want to infuse more creativity into their leadership, into who they are, whether that shows up professionally or personally, and then how that moves out into the world. So although I talk a lot about creativity, it's really the woo behind the work. And a lot of people think that creativity is something that is restricted to only like an elite club of people, artists, designers, architects, but it's not true at all. Creatives are simply people who take ideas and make them real. And that's the type of work I do with my clients. I help them find their clear vision, whether that is through a career shift, mindset shift, who they want to be personally or professionally. And then we express that out into the world through thought leadership and branding. And most of my clients are, yes, there's a whole handful that are in advertising and marketing and creative executive leads, but also a lot who are lawyers or in real estate or financial planning, because creativity, or this idea of woo woo, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, really floats into all of these spaces, because that's how you up level your mindset. That's how you up level your leadership at the end of the day.
Love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally love that. And you made me think of how I think Bob Proctor had said, or I recall Bob Proctor saying too, that everything that exists in this world is originated as a thought, as an idea in our head, you know?
Mhm.
So with creativity, you know, we're, like you said, Lisa, we're making it a reality. We're
Mhm.
creating it. We're putting it in our world and not just in our imagination, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So Lauren, can you just elaborate a little bit more on the whole mindset and heart set,
Sure.
differences? Yeah.
Yes, happy to do that. So the heart set is really about going within. And heart, most people are really afraid to go into their hearts because it's vulnerable in there. So they'll go in there, they'll tap in there to love their husbands, their wives, their children, friends, family. Then it's time to jump back out and go live up here. And the work that I do is to create a space when I'm working with my clients to go into the heart and feel the safety there, and not just feel the safety, feel the power of their vulnerability. Because as I said earlier, that's where your truth is. And it's not my truth, it's my client's truth. And to be able to start accessing that and then making the decision of, once you really start understanding how powerful a tool that is, you go to this place where you observe, okay, we don't judge in our hearts. We can't, it's impossible. It's a place of love. And you think love and business? No, you can't have that. But you've got to have that strength from within in order to perform in your business, in order to perform in your personal lives. It's just such an amazing component, and it's so powerful. So getting to that place and starting to get comfortable with that, then we're able to step back. My client, I teach them how to step back, and then you get to determine, they get to determine, is this a time that I want to be using my head, or is it a time that I want to be using my heart? It's my choice. And believe me, there's some times where it's much more powerful to use your heart. That's where your intuition is. And when you start dialing into your intuition, you get flooded with information that you might have spent hours before using this to try to solve an issue or try to find ideas, like Lisa's creativity aspect. Where does creativity reside? Here. Does that help to answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And yeah, and also, I mean, you reminded me of my sessions that I had with you, Lauren, and how I had a battle too of my mindset versus my heart set. I wasn't like really tuning into my intuition because I had such like monkey mind, and it's like action, 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 do. And I don't care how productive you are, or how much you're in action, if you're not aligned with your heart, where you're coming from. I mean, that's why we're here. That's our purpose.
Exactly. That's definitely part of our purpose. And in the work that I do, I know immediately. I do Zoom calls and I record them because I want my clients to use that as a tool down the road. I want them to go back and watch it. But I know immediately when my client is in their head, and as you said, Christine, you worked with me, and when you're in your heart, and I'll say, hey, get back in. And people initially are like, how does she know that? Usually in a first session, people are,
Yeah.
how does she know this? How does she
Uh-huh.
know this? You can see the smoke coming out of their ears. So but yeah, that it's so powerful. And that's my big message. Why would you only use part of your whole being?
Yeah.
Don't let the word woo block you from experiencing your whole being.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's things that we cannot explain in this world. Again, use Bob
I can.
Proctor. Well, you can't explain everything. I mean,
Who
I
knows?
know you're good, Lauren, but but like Bob Proctor uses that example of electricity. We all use electricity, but how many of us really don't understand all the details of electricity, you know? So it's like we have to have
Yeah.
faith and
Mhm.
we have to be open
Yeah.
and consider things that, yeah, I may not fully understand this, and that's okay.
It's like when I did a session my first time with someone on the other side of the planet. I had to have huge faith because I was like, how am I going to be able to tune into them? I don't understand how. And what I've learned is energy definitely knows no bounds. So it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. Speaking of electricity or, telephone service, you can just dial in and get the most accurate information. It doesn't matter. It's amazing. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in.
Lisa, did you want to say something? It looked like you wanted to chime in
For
with a
sure.
comment.
I was intrigued and inspired by the mind blown moment because I've seen that happen time and time again. And a really simple way for anyone to access that energy, that intuition that Lauren is talking about, or their woo woo spiritual side is to simply gift themselves time to tone down, to like sit and be with an idea. And I'm using that word on purpose because, for example, I think it was like last week or the week before, I had a coaching session and they came to it with a problem. And when you're trying to solve a problem from the same level of energy that you created the problem, you're going to come up with a solution that is still within that level of energy. Nothing's really going to change. Certainly, nothing's going to transform or blow your mind. Things might get incrementally better, a little bit okay, right? But it's not that mind blowing aha moment. And I think that creative leaders or anyone at this moment in time needs to have the space to blow their own mind and then take that idea to their team, to the world, to make that impact. So even sitting with me for 1 hour, this client and I just got quiet and I asked a couple of key questions. And then as a coach, we all know, then we just be quiet and we allow them to like, oh, and you can see the creativity happening, the access to their heart, the intuition, whatever it is. But it was just in those silent moments, the gift of time for 1 hour, he was able to access his heart. And I think that's so important right now in our super busy world. Literally gifting yourself a half hour can be mind blowing in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one quick way to access your creativity or that spiritual side of who you are and just listen. Listen to that quiet voice. See what pops
Mm-hmm.
up. It's probably going to be a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, with my clients that I work with, I find that they tend to beat themselves up.
Oh, yeah.
And they come to me because they're not getting the traction that they want on their job search. They're spinning from that job search overwhelm. And it's like we pause and we make sure that they are listening to their intuition, and they're not doing that whole monkey mind thing where they're off like sending tons of resumes out, and it's like, again, taking all this action, but it's not getting them anywhere. They're just spending so much time and energy. They're so depleted when they come to me, and they're frustrated. And it's like, by you just taking the time, like you said, Lisa, to really listen to your inner voice and then take action with a plan, with a focused, precise plan, and then being able to take action on that. It's just, and like you said, like the energy of, it's almost like the energy of the goal achieved, like being that person, like really, we actually spend time thinking about, okay, what's it going to feel like when I have that ideal job? And part of it too is like, they have to believe that they can have that ideal job, because if they don't, again, it doesn't matter how much action they're going to take. If they don't believe it, and if they don't like actually spend time thinking about it and what that looks like, then how are we going to get there?
Right. If they're only imagining, here I am applying for all the jobs that, if I was being honest, I probably don't want anyways. They're just spending an enormous amount of time and energy with that monkey mind and having conversations with the monkey mind.
Right. And then raising, as you start to release these blocks, like I have clients and they come to me for a specific reason. And what comes through me is like, but that's not what your block is. That's not what's actually going on. Here's where you're blocked. And then, oh, that's it. And it's like, yeah, so let's walk through this. And in the process, you want to raise your vibration. So like what Christine was saying about living that future now, which is kind of hard for people to wrap their heads around a little bit. But once you do, it's like, yeah, I'm going to live what I want. I'm going to live that now. And once you start releasing those blocks and you raise that energy vibration, you are right there living in the future. As I said earlier, walking through that wall of fear, because it's the fear that stops us, right? And you get over that and you turn that, instead of a wall, it just becomes a threshold that you walk over, and you have freedom. And that freedom offers you the opportunity to sit in that future place and not be afraid of it. It's the coolest thing. So I love that you brought that up, Christine.
Yeah. And how you were talking about the fear. I mean, fear, how often when we break through it and we get on the other side and we look back, we're like, that was really all in my head.
Yes. It's all in my head. Let's get the flow going. Let's go into that intuitive side and just go into flow, go into the zone, as they say. You hear athletes talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
To the point where they're out on the field and they don't even hear the crowds, right? They're just in the zone. And we can translate that into the work that I do, into the work that Lisa does, and into the work that you do, Christine. It's like part of what we do, me as a mentor, you guys as coaches, is let's find that and start going into it. And in the process of working with our clients, we create that space for them to feel that. They actually get to feel that. And they haven't felt it before. They didn't know how to access it, right?
Yeah. And visualization. You brought up another tool that I think, again, is labeled as woo-woo, visualization.
Yeah. Vision board. And, it's what you do with your girlfriends over a cup of coffee. And that's not true. I mean, there are plenty of very successful men out there who use a vision board. But right. It's another tool to put you in the space of living that future now.
Yeah.
And the emotion. We haven't talked much about the emotion, but that's in the heart, is the emotion. You have to feel it. You have to feel being in that future. You have to feel the emotion around that in order for it to be successful. You can't leave that component out.
No, you can't. And Olympic athletes, they use visualization to be successful. I know astronauts have used it. Like you said, many successful men and women have used it. And then emotions, I think, too can be labeled as woo-woo, yet they are the fuel that motivate us to take action, you know, and really.
I mean, if you think about it, why do we watch TV? Why do we read books? Why do we listen and love stories and retell stories? It's because it gives us an experience of emotion. It helps us visualize an future experience outside of ourselves. And that's like taking that creative idea and making it real. And so, like, I love the idea of vision boards because without fail, come, January 1st, that's the like biggest request that I'll get, tell us about vision boarding. And I'm like, okay. But your vision and how you see is only accessing one of your six senses, right? We've got touch, taste, smell, sound. There's so many more ways to create that experience that I think helps us access our intuition. And I had a question for you, Lauren, actually.
Sure.
I'd love to hear about, can you help us define and understand what an intuition is?
So an intuition is an inner knowing. And your intuitive hits, you feel them first. And your intuitive hits come from your heart. And as I said earlier, your heart, you cannot judge. So when we try to come up with ideas, whether you're in a meeting or on your own and you're using just your head, it's like you almost force an idea out and then you start getting critical of it and the reasons why that doesn't work. And intuition is using a different part of your body. So you go into that space where there is no judgment. And that inner knowing, things just start showing up, ideas start showing up. And it's magical, frankly, especially for people who aren't used to using it. So dialing into that and learning how to access that, which most people don't know how to do, is really the keys to the kingdom. If you want to, I mean, we're not talking about quantum physics today and quantum leaps today, but it all has to do with just your answers are right there.
Mm-hmm.
You just made me think of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and how really home was always there, you know? Home was always
yeah,
there.
I mean, that book was so poetic and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many hidden messages in that book, as is the case with a lot of literature, you know, reading between the lines.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other tips can we give our audience so they can have like Lauren, you had said to, like, you know, in a typical workday, we do find ourselves in those stressful situations where we're like, we're weighed down. So like, what are some tips that we can give our audience to get out of that and so that they can move forward?
Okay, so just like you're saying, when they get into that place of stress, stress, your cortisol levels are so high, you get very blocked. It's as we said earlier, it's really hard to pull an idea out of this instead of pulling an idea out of this, right? It's not even pulling, it just shows up. And so, what I like to teach my clients, and this is very easy for your listeners to do, it's so easy, and it takes a very short period of time, is I tell them, and this is a little bit woo until you start doing it, but I ask them to sit, uncross legs and arms, close your eyes, take a deep breath in and hold. And as they breathe out, I ask them to imagine breathing out through their hearts. And I ask them to do that. I always start my sessions that way because I'm all about heart. I'm heart set. And I want to get you out of your head and get you playing in this field. So I have them do that 3 times. And then when you get into that space, you start to feel it. And I give them a prescription. I want you to do this 3 times a day. You could be driving. You don't have to have your eyes closed. It's helpful the first few times so you can really start to get access there. You can be driving. You can be walking down the grocery aisle. So many different ways to access your heart. And when you get into that space, you know it. You literally feel the shift physically throughout your body. When you're in your heart and you're doing it with your eyes closed, imagine that your heart, as it's connecting to the rest of your body, and it takes you to a very peaceful place, a place of freedom, and it takes you out of stress. So that is what I advise. And you might be sitting there working really hard. You can get up from your desk, whether you're working at home, whether you're working in the office, walk around and just do that breathing exercise, and it kind of resettle yourself. It's so easy, and it doesn't take 30 seconds. Everybody's got 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And I know you've given me that tip, and I use it. I do feel physically, I feel my body just loosening up. And my tips are more, I would say, about the physical aspect, is to get away, like change your scenery, get outside if you can, or just go to another room. And the other thing I would say is, I love coffee. I do love coffee. But
it's an antioxidant.
It is. But watch your coffee consumption, because coffee elevates our cortisol level. So get a hot cup of herbal tea instead, or just get a hot beverage or I guess a cold beverage is okay, but just don't have too much coffee.
Oh, so great. I love it.
Yeah. And the connection to nature is so huge. People think, oh, I just need to look at nature, but there is a tremendous amount of energy in nature that if we open ourselves to receive, that's a big one too. We didn't talk about the word receive. Allow yourself to receive. And there are lots of places that you can receive. And most people don't. They don't want to, because that goes into worth, but we're not talking about that today. So.
Right. It's all like this.
Yeah.
If I could offer one moment, it kind of plays into that receiving. You triggered that idea for me. When you are creatives talk about brainstorming, right? Which is an interesting word in and of itself, that it's a storm and that it's happening
in your brain.
So right, what would a heart storm look like, for example?
Yeah.
But ask yourself the question, if you're having that problem moment down here, you can ask yourself the question, wouldn't it be cool if? Well, wouldn't it be cool if I took 5 minutes and walked around the block? Wouldn't it be cool if I went and got myself that herbal tea? The answer is probably yes and yes. And so it just opens up a little more space to receive a download, a new idea, an intuitive hit. And if you ask, if you don't ask, well, what would be really horrible right now, right? That's not the question. The question is, wouldn't it be cool if? And it's going to open you up a little bit more to receive something that is in the realm of abundance and joy and fun and celebration, so you can be in a more receptive mode too.
I love that. And I want to add, if I may, that listening to yourself. So you're getting jammed up at work, and if you can just listen to those thoughts, it's like, what am I telling myself? A lot of those thoughts are pretty toxic, right? And to listen to those and to just pull back a little bit and throw something that might be positive. Like Lisa was just saying, it's like, what if? And then actually act on that, right? Because then that helps to release the toxicity, the cortisol, the coffee. How I'm not getting rid of coffee, Christine. 2 cups in the morning, I gotta have it. But
that's okay. You can do that.
Yeah.
Just watch it, limit it. That's all.
No, that's it. Just my 2 cups. But I was like, if Christine tries to take my 2 cups of coffee away. So yeah, it's a big part is listening to yourself. You gotta listen. So when it becomes like this, whoop, pull back, maybe do the breathing exercise, do what Lisa recommended, what if. Those are really good tips to help you start segueing into a place where you become a friend to yourself again.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Amen.
Amen.
So it is.
that's a perfect note to wrap this up. Thank you both, Lauren and Lisa, for doing this with me. I just, you both are the bomb. And yeah, I really feel that we were able to provide some helpful value to our audience out there. And yeah, I want everyone to have an amazing day, and don't like really look at those things that are labeled woo woo, and consider them and ask the question of, well, what if I were to try this? What would that be like? So,
and to also say, hey, I'm actually made up of woo.
Yeah.
Actually,
we are.
Thank
We
you.
are
Thank you so
woo-woo.
much, Christine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.